If she was to be placed in this world, then she would not enter it weak. Her eyes sharpened. The rebellion inside her didn't disappear. It changed, adapted. If she was to be his prisoner, she would be the one he could never control completely. The most dangerous version of what he had created. Her gaze shifted toward the door. Still closed. Waiting. The clock. She didn't need to see it to feel it. Each second moving closer. 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 9 o'clock. Her body stilled. Perfect posture. Controlled breath. Expression unreadable. The mask settled into place. And this time, she didn't resist it. She chose it. And then, she stopped waiting. The door wasn't just ahead of her. It was the beginning. And this time, she was ready to face him. The transition was immediate, almost physical. The bedroom had been warm in its own dark, intimate way, close, scented, enclosed like the center of an animal's den. The corridor beyond felt cooler, wider, less forgiving. The lights had been lowered so severely that the architecture seemed built more from shadow than material. Thin lines of recessed illumination traced the base of the walls and picked out the path ahead with measured restraint, as if the penthouse had decided exactly how much visibility she deserved. Everything else remained in darkness. Not blackness, not blindness, something worse. Partial revelation. Enough light to guide her forward, enough shadow to remind her that the house did not need her to understand all of it. The floor shone beneath her like dark water. Polished stone, almost black, reflecting the low lights in trembling ribbons that made the surface appear liquid from a distance. When she stepped onto it, the illusion deepened. The crimson of her dress flashed briefly in the reflection below her, broken by movement, appearing and disappearing like a wound dragged over still depths. Her first step felt monumental, not because of its sound, because of its finality. The click of her heel cut through the corridor with cruel precision. Sharp, isolated, unsoftened by voices, by music, by any ordinary domestic noise that might have diluted it. The sound seemed to travel impossibly far, touching the walls, the ceilings, the closed doors, returning to her thinner and more severe. She took another step, then another. Soon the rhythm established itself. Click, silence, click, silence. The hallway absorbed everything else. Her breathing became part of it almost immediately, measured at first, then slightly shallower as the length of the passage stretched before her. The corridor was not truly endless, yet something about its proportions made distance slippery. It narrowed and widened in quiet, calculated ways. Sightlines shifted. Angles deepened into shadow and then opened unexpectedly onto alcoves, glass cases, panels of dark wood, architectural recesses holding objects too valuable to belong anywhere ordinary. Labyrinthine, she thought. Not confusing in the literal sense. Designed to create anticipation. Designed to make arrival feel inevitable. She kept walking. As she moved farther from the suite, the house began to reveal more of Arthur's collection, not all at once, but like a hand slowly turning cards over one by one. The first case stood inset into the wall behind museum-grade glass, illuminated from above by a thin, restrained wash of light. Inside rested 3 antique blades mounted on black velvet. Not decorative imitations. Real things. Their edges were old but immaculate, their handles dark with age, one inlaid with silver work that looked almost ceremonial. Even behind the glass, they radiated a kind of preserved violence. She slowed without meaning to. The blades were beautiful in the way dangerous things often are when stripped of context. Elegant curves. Meticulous craftsmanship. Death translated into art, then captured and displayed. preserved not for use, but for possession. Her gaze moved to the small engraved plaques beneath them. She did not step close enough to read. She did not need to. The point was already clear. Arthur collected force, refined it, framed it, owned it. The next display held watches. 6 of them, arranged in perfect alignment on a pale, suede-lined surface. Their faces glimmered faintly in the low light: obsidian, silver, deep sapphire. Some looked modern, severe, engineered down to the smallest impossible detail. Others were older, mechanical, almost regal. Every one of them had been chosen, preserved, and positioned with the same relentless care as everything else in the penthouse. Time, she thought. Of course. The man who scheduled human beings on glowing screens would collect time itself behind glass. The realization tightened something in her chest. These were not hobbies, not decoration. They were declarations. Beautiful things immobilized, maintained, and made obedient. Weapons, hours, rarity, history. All the objects in the corridor carried the same underlying logic. If something possessed value, Arthur did not merely admire it. He contained it. Her pulse quickened. She continued on, passing another alcove filled with rare books sealed behind transparent panels, their bindings old and dark, their spines softened by age and wealth. The lighting there was warmer, almost reverent, as if the corridor expected devotion before knowledge. The books looked untouched not because they were unloved, but because they had become too precious for casual use. Again, that same principle. Beauty transformed into artifact. Preservation as control. She wondered, with a chill that reached all the way through the silk and skin and bone, whether Arthur saw people the same way. Not everyone. Not the world at large. Only the ones he considered worth keeping. The thought landed too cleanly to be dismissed. Her heels struck the floor again. Click. The sound pulled her back into motion. She tried to count the steps after that. It came to her not as strategy, but instinct. A way to occupy the mind before it turned against itself. To keep fear from expanding into images it could not survive. To prevent the corridor from becoming less a hallway and more a sentence unfolding in space. 1, 2, 3. She matched the numbers silently to the rhythm of her walk. 4, 5, 6. At 10, her breath snagged. At 14, she lost count. She started over. The exercise did nothing except sharpen her awareness of her own body, the heartbeat in her throat, the restrained tension in her shoulders, the exact pressure of the obsidian at her neck, the way the dress held her spine upright whether she wished it or not. She kept walking. Somewhere beyond the walls, hidden inside the guts of the tower, the penthouse breathed its low electrical hum. The climate system moved air through concealed vents with a distant, steady whisper. Far below, New York still existed in softened frequencies, sirens blurred by altitude, traffic reduced to a faint oceanic pulse. But those sounds only made the interior silence seem more complete. They reminded her that ordinary life continued elsewhere, beyond the glass, beyond the schedule, beyond the terms of her surrender. Not here. Here there was only anticipation. A thickening pressure in the dark. The corridor bent slightly, and then she saw it. Light spilling across the floor ahead. Not broad, not bright, just a concentrated gold unfolding from a doorway at the far end of the hall. It touched the black stone like molten metal, turning the polished surface into a fractured mirror. The closer she came, the more the contrast intensified. Dimness behind her, illumination ahead, as though the corridor itself had been built as a funnel leading toward one inevitable point. Her mouth went dry, because now the end was visible. Not abstract, not distant. Real. And in that pool of light there was another shape. A shadow. Long. Still. Human. Cast from within the dining room and stretched across the floor toward her feet. She stopped. For one suspended second, the entire penthouse seemed to stop with her. The shadow did not move. It did not need to. She knew. Arthur. She did not yet see his face, only the dark silhouette of his form implied by the angle of the light, the line of shoulders, the suggestion of height. The controlled stillness of someone waiting without impatience, because impatience belongs to men who are uncertain of being obeyed. Something primal stirred in her chest. Fear first. Pure, old, instinctive fear. Not the civilized fear of contracts and signatures and social ruin. Something older. Animal. The body recognizing another body at the center of its own territory. A predator waiting in light while she approached through shadow. Her heartbeat rose hard against her throat. She could feel it above the edge of the choker, beneath the pulse in her skin, a frantic knocking that seemed impossibly loud in the vacuum of the corridor. And beneath the fear, that other thing, that darker, more humiliating thing. Attraction. Not softness. Not trust. Nothing so gentle. A pull. Toward danger. Toward power so concentrated it altered the atmosphere around it. Toward the man whose presence could be felt before it was fully seen. She hated it instantly. Hated the way her body registered him as a force before her mind could translate him into anger. Hated that fear and fascination could occupy the same breath. Yet they did. The light ahead trembled slightly across the floor as she resumed walking. Slowly now. Painfully slowly. Every step an act of will. The house seemed to watch more closely the nearer she came. The displays receded behind her. The dim corridor narrowed into a final stretch of dark stone and gold. Her reflection appeared in fragments beneath her feet, broken by shadow, reassembled by movement. Crimson. Black. Light. Silence. She thought of her father. Not as symbol. Not as obligation. As a man. A tired, flawed, beloved man who might even now be breathing easier because of what she had done. The image steadied her for exactly 2 steps. Then another thought came. When this is over, what will be left of me to save? It struck with enough force to nearly stop her again, because until now she had been speaking to herself in the language of endurance. Survive tonight. Survive the dinner. Survive the arrangement long enough to protect what matters. But the corridor, with its glass cases and preserved violence and measured light, had shown her something uglier. Survival was not a single event. It could become erosion. Slow. Elegant. Invisible. A woman could walk into a world like this with all her edges intact and still emerge, weeks or months later, curated into something quieter, more polished, more obedient. Containment disguised as luxury. Surrender disguised as transformation. Arthur's shadow waited on the floor as if to answer her. She reached the last few yards of the corridor. Now she could see more than the shadow. The edge of the dining room table. The glow of pendant lights suspended over black stone. The suggestion of crystal. Dark walls. Reflected amber. A room arranged for ritual rather than nourishment. And his silhouette. Not fully. Not yet. Just enough to make her body understand that the lion was indeed there, just beyond the threshold, silent and aware and already in command of the space she had not yet entered. She drew in a breath, held it, released it carefully. The mask she had built in the mirror returned to her by force of necessity. Her shoulders settled. Her expression cooled. The panic in her heartbeat remained, but she locked it beneath posture, beneath stillness, beneath the defiant elegance of the crimson skin he had chosen for her. One more step, then another, until the light from the dining room touched her fully, and the corridor behind her seemed to fall away like the narrowing passage of a trap already closed. She had reached the end. Or perhaps, she thought as she crossed into the edge of his shadow, only the beginning. And with that final, measured breath, Isabella stepped toward judgment.